want to get into content creation, you want to make money out of it, you want to build a business out of it, whatever it is, you need to be making content 2-3 times a day. Like 2-3 times a day. Not because this is the amount that's going to make you successful, but because this is the amount that's going to essentially speed run your learning curve.
Soufan is a social media expert who has helped individuals and businesses amass hundreds of thousands of followers and millions of views.
Making a viral video is just kind of like a recipe. There's certain levels of like ingredients. You add one thing, you add another thing. Sometimes if you add a bit too much of one thing, the recipe's off and it doesn't work. But there's always a pattern.
Ashton Hall. Where the hell did this guy come from? And what is it? Like, he's taken the world by storm. He's just exploded across every single platform. What has happened, and why is it his videos are banging the way they're banging at this moment in time?
So the thing with Ashton Hall, which is very much similar to, I'm gonna call back to, Eddie Abu.
Yeah.
So very much similar use cases, because these are guys who, when you do that, that's an insane way of capturing attention, because what he's doing is he's creating conversation. The way these algorithms work is, again, more people share, more people comment, more people save, you're much more likely to go viral or for them to push, because they want to keep you on the app. And so the way to do that is to be, and I feel like this is the type of information that people put in like $1,000 courses, but it's for free for everyone, because everyone should win.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of What My Best Friend Does, where we talk to best friends in the hope of inspiring you to take immediate action. Guys, today I'm joined by the social media expert, Ali. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well, bro. I'm doing very well. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, man. It's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming, and do you know what? I've had other social media people on, but I always look forward to these episodes because I need the keys, bro. Yeah. I need the keys. I've been given the keys a lot, but they go missing.
Yeah,
they go missing.
Or they expire, or they don't work.
That's it, bro. That's it, bro. Yeah, but really excited to get going. We'd like to start with a little icebreaker. What did you want to be growing up?
I'd say growing up, I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
I say that's probably the one thing that kind of was always in the back of my mind growing up.
Yeah.
And definitely something that I always think about, and who knows, maybe one day.
Okay. So you wanted to be a doctor. You've ended up in social media marketing. Let's take it back. Can you take us through your journey, your upbringing, how it is you got to this point?
So it's been a very long journey, I'll say. I came to the UK at 18, so I'm originally from Lebanon.
Yeah.
Came to the UK at 18 for university. And obviously, up until the point of university, I was very much like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Obviously, you're 18, you're very young, don't necessarily have a direction, and your parents are telling you should study this and you're interested in this, but this doesn't make money. And so my head was in like 50,000 different places. Ended up settling on computer science, like very last minute.
Okay, smart choice in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a good choice, although obviously as I'll come to tell the story, it's not necessarily my favorite thing in the world, but I don't regret it because it taught me like a very algorithmic way of thinking, which I think is very beneficial no matter what you do in life. So yeah, I came to the UK from Lebanon, went to University of Nottingham, studied computer science there, and then that was 3 years. COVID ate away half my uni.
Wow.
Yeah.
What? So COVID happened in the second half.
Second half.
So what happened? So you because you're attending on site.
Yeah.
COVID happens.
And
then how does that impact the experience?
So it was interesting because obviously we thought the world was ending. You know. So it was like, what do I do? Like life is on pause. Like I'm going to the supermarket with gloves and a mask, like it's an apocalypse. You know? And I moved in with my friends actually because there weren't flights to Lebanon. My parents wanted me to go back, and I was stuck in the UK, and there were no flights to Lebanon.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, I'm kind of stuck here. So I moved in with my friends, and it was actually around that time that I started making content. So that was probably the first time I started taking content creation seriously. I was 19 at the time. And or 20. It was 2020.
And why is it that you started making the content? Is it just because you had time? Because
yeah,
of COVID?
I think it was a combination of different things. I think growing up, I used to watch a lot of YouTube. So like YouTube has always been a big thing for me.
Who is it you were watching back in the day?
Ooh, like you know, like the OG kind of like British YouTubers. I don't know if you know them, like Casper Lee and those types of people. No.
The OG YouTubers for me is KSI.
Okay, yeah, no, definitely KSI as well. Like
so KSI,
you know,
and Sidemen and all them.
Yeah, like just loads of things. And I think I've just kind of always been interested in content creation.
Mm-hmm.
And so in first year uni, one of my friends, and he brings this up to this day, that he's the one who put me on TikTok. It was before TikTok was TikTok. It was Musical.ly.
Mm-hmm.
And I made fun of him. I was like, man, like, what is this? Like, what, you know, what is this app? Why are people just on here like singing and dancing? And then TikTok started to kind of become a thing, started to hear a lot about it. And then obviously the interest was kind of there. And I've always enjoyed just kind of picking up a camera, speaking. Like I love speaking. And so I was like, this is kind of maybe the perfect way to marry my creative side and like an interest of mine. And so went in, started making content. It was very much like a flop at the beginning. No views, nothing, but I was like, I really want to make this work. And so one thing about me, I'm very obsessive.
Yeah.
So I went on a, like, if you want a content craze, like I was recording maybe like 3 videos a day and posting them every single day for a good like 6 months.
Wow.
And obviously this was lockdown as well, so there wasn't that much to do. Like my course was kind of on pause, like we didn't have that much coursework. I was like, let me just lock in with this. And
how long? So you're doing 3 posts a day every day. How long does it take to create a video and edit it?
I mean, honestly, it was probably taking me all day.
Wow.
Like it was like, I would say
A full-time job.
it was like a full time. It was like 9 to 5, like, because I was also making like these quite in-depth videos. I was doing a lot of conspiracy theory content.
Oh, hey, let's go. Let's go. UFOs exist.
Yeah, like that type of stuff, you know, like UFOs exist. Is Kanye West being mind controlled? Like these types of things.
Yeah.
So it was like a lot of research went into the videos. So I'd spend maybe like hours just kind of like researching, writing scripts, and obviously by nature of being obsessive, I would watch viral videos over and over and over again. I would write down like every single word, and I'd analyze the hook, what they were saying, how the structure of the video was. And I think that was kind of what taught me how to make viral videos. And then my videos just started to blow up. Like I would just start posting and things would just, it was growing like fire.
Wait, I need to dive in there because I had somebody on this podcast last year, Sterling, and he said something very similar. He said that he used to spend an hour a day or 2 hours a day just going through viral videos. You've added another layer there, and you said you started writing down the words of the hooks, and then it helped to, I don't know, inform your script because you knew what would bang.
I mean, because ultimately at the end of the day, like content creation is a puzzle. It's about pattern recognition. And so you want to essentially just figure out what, because like making a viral video it's just kind of like a recipe. There's certain levels of like ingredients. You add one thing, you add another thing. Sometimes if you add a bit too much of one thing, the recipe's off and it doesn't work. But there's always a pattern, you know, like again, back to that algorithmic thinking, there's always a pattern. I think life is just about pattern recognition. And so you just kind of writing down everything just kind of really made me realize like, okay, no, like these things aren't going viral because of a coincidence or because this person is like extremely charismatic or whatever. There's like there's a recipe. There's like certain factors that go in that make something go viral.
So you know what, we're segueing, but it's important because I need this. I need this. So when you say there is a certain recipe, podcast clips, right? Because I think yes, with videos like I don't know, is the chain fake, or like walking up to people in the street and asking them a madness, I get it. Yeah, there is a recipe. When you're just taking clips from a podcast, can you still recreate the recipe? That's my question.
I mean, you definitely can. I mean, there's proof. There's obviously loads of podcast clips that have gone super viral and you know, blown up podcasts as a result. I think, again, with all content creation, I always go back to the idea of curiosity. Like, how are you creating? Because it's all about those first 5-10 seconds of your video. Can you capture, if I'm scrolling and there's all these different things that are potentially calling to my attention, and I'm used to all these other videos on my For You page or Reels page or whatever it is, your clip needs to be able to make me curious enough to want to stay beyond those first 3-4 seconds. And so whatever you're clipping needs to have that element of you're evoking the curiosity of the person. But also there are things that add to it. Like if your clip is culturally relevant, so if there's something in the culture, in the context right now that's happening that people are really engaged in, if your clip tackles that subject, then again, that's more likely to increase your chance to kind of go viral.
That's what I
you
don't
know. So you just kind of need to figure out like, okay, how can I make people curious? Am I addressing like a pain point? Just kind of like, it's storytelling at the end of the day.
So I agree with you, and actually to the listener, so I've had a few clips that have like blown up on TikTok this year. Like, I don't know, probably had like 500,000 views in 2025, which we had 300,000 in all of 24.
Okay.
So already at 500,000, I'm very happy. And I was thinking about this literally today, and I'm like, there's a few things that have made those clips go viral when I look at them. One is like emotion. So is somebody looking at it and it's making them feel an emotion, whether it's like outrage, shock, horror, and then the other thing with that is relatability. Can somebody put themselves or a friend in the person's shoes?
Yeah.
And I think with those two things, the emotion and the relatability, it leads to people sharing it and engaging with the content.
100%.
But it's like, I don't know, for me, I suppose when you got guests on, you don't always know if they're going to be the best storyteller, and it's like you don't want to coach people to be like, can you tell good stories? You get what I mean? So why am I saying this? I suppose to anybody who has a podcast and is wondering why their clips don't go well, you do kind of need to have guests on who are good storytellers, and I think the way you get the best stories is by having like prep calls and understanding like what a person's going to say. Like, we've spoken ahead of this, I speak to all my guests ahead of any recording, and that helps to stop there being any surprises, shall we say.
No, I agree. And I think actually, to add to the point of you're saying emotion and relatability, one thing I always tell the people I work with is like, the last thing you want is your content to feel like it was something that was written by ChatGPT, as in like you're simply relaying information, because the point of the way these algorithms work is, again, more people share, more people comment, more people save, you're much more likely to go viral or for them to push, because they want to keep you on the app. And so the way to do that is to be polarizing. If people can't comment whether with or against your video, or share it with a friend and comment on it, then more likely than not that video isn't necessarily going to perform well, because you're not necessarily creating conversation.
And you know, the final thing I'll say on this, just before we get back to it, it's crazy, like when a video takes off and it goes viral, then people engage with it because of a viral video. And then that, like,
it's a snowball effect.
Because I had people, oh yeah, now you got 10 comments. Oh, now you got 100 comments. And I'm like, bro, like, cheers, like, thank you. Like, people just want to be involved in something which is relevant, I suppose, and popular at the time.
It's also social proof. Like, if you see a video on your like feed that has like 10,000 likes, you're gonna be like, what is this about? Like, what is this person saying? And so there's that element of social proof as well.
So it's like, how do you get to that critical mass? Right, it's like you need to get to that critical mass as soon as possible, because once the algorithm takes it, you know you're good.
The rest of your videos will snowball.
Exactly. And even like some of the videos like I got like in January, it got 100,000 views at a time. Now it's at like 220. So it's like the views don't stop. They just like go up forever.
It never
and
ends.
Just like, what is going on? But yeah, okay. So you started creating content. Yeah. That's where we were. And then
started creating content. But then at the same time, obviously I had my degree, and I was like, I don't know, because I was doing conspiracy theory content and I wasn't necessarily monetizing anything.
How big did you grow your audience to?
So it was around, I'd say, 90,000 followers by the end of the 6 months. Yeah, it was big.
Wow.
And this was like, we're talking like, this is TikTok back in 2020. So 90,000 followers meant much more then than it does now.
Hey, I'll take 90,000 followers now, you know what I mean?
No, of course. I mean, I found myself on the back. It was good, but
and you said you weren't like monetizing. Like, why? What is the mistake people make? How is it that, like, looking back, you would have been able to monetize the audience you created?
I mean, I think it's the niche I picked. I mean, what type of brand really wants to work with conspiracy theorists? You know, it's just kind of like it's, again, because I feel like and this is to all the content creators who kind of want to make money or consider, like, you know, there's that whole question of niching down and stuff.
Maybe Specsavers. Yeah. Did I really see it? Did I really see the UFO?
No, I mean, I'm sure someone creative can think of a campaign with a conspiracy theorist, but like, if you're a content creator and you're trying to think of a niche or kind of like the types of topics that you want to make content about, always think about like, who is the audience you're attracting, who's on the other end of that content, and then as a result of that, would a brand want to work with me if I say this thing or if I say that thing, or because of the topics I talk about, you know? So it's always kind of considering who's at the other end of that, and because ultimately your value as a creator is placed on the audience that you have.
Yeah.
And so if that audience isn't monetizable to a brand, again, that means nothing. And also if I wanted to maybe make a digital product or something, I mean, maybe I could write a book or something about conspiracy theories, but I didn't really want my career to go down that route.
Yeah, I hear that.
And so I got an internship that summer or I was supposed to do it that summer, but because of COVID, it got postponed at a Big Four consulting firm. And then went through my third year of uni, continued to make content. That's when I was like, okay, I'm not sure where this is going. So the content kind of died down a bit in my third year uni. I kind of wanted to evolve it into the more like self-improvement, self-help space. I mean, I love helping people. It's always been something that I'm really passionate about. And then took the internship with the Big Four consulting firm that summer. They offered me a job, but for the year after. So I was like, oh, I have a year gap. I don't know what to do with my life. So I decided to go do a master's.
Oh my God. My
yes,
goodness.
Because how else are we going to waste time if not doing a master's?
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm a big proponent for education, but I feel like sometimes a lot of people go into education, especially a master's, as a way to kind of buy time before going into the real world. And I kind of feel like a bit that's what I did.
But you could have given content creation like a real go for a year, knowing that you had... Actually, let me not say that because bro, here you are now. Everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And again, I'm grateful for the way things turned out, because also around that time in my third year, I had like a massive injury from the gym in my back. And so that kind of like really affected just my general productivity. Like I wasn't able to kind of do things properly. I had like insane chronic pain for like a year. And so the master's was very nice and light, you know, and it was just kind of like a way to just kind of like figure out what I want to do, just kind of fix that physical pain that I was feeling, and also just kind of figure out my next steps. And then I kind of did, and I did a master's at UCL in entrepreneurship. And again, because there's always kind of been this idea of like making money, entrepreneurship, from, I guess, being Lebanese as well. I feel like if you know Lebanese people, you know they're very entrepreneurial. You know, they're always, wherever they are in the world, you find them starting up businesses, doing things. And I feel like it's the path that my dad took, and it's kind of something that's always in a way kind of been ingrained to me in one way or another. And so the entrepreneurship course was kind of like a way to kind of expose myself to that. Met loads of cool people, worked on like a few startups with friends and stuff, just kind of like ideas, testing things, building MVPs, and then obviously had the Big Four consulting firm offer waiting for me at the end. So it was kind of like, okay, whatever I'm doing now is just an experiment, but it's for later.
Yeah.
So took the job in consulting, worked there, and I promise you from the first day, probably even before the first day, I was like, I know I'm not going to last here.
Wow. And as you say that, like, are there any stories whilst you were at the consultant firm that come to mind that just encapsulate you knowing that you weren't going to last?
I mean, again, I think one of the biggest things that sticks out to me is I forgot if it was like one of the first people I'd worked with or one of the first teams I'd kind of been in contact with. And I was just kind of like getting to know the manager on the team. And I remember she told me this. She was like, oh yeah, like work is whatever, but it doesn't matter because we just kind of work for the weekend, right? And when she told me that, I was like, no, like that's not the life I want to lead. Like, yes, it's amazing you have this job in a Big Four consulting firm and it's comfortable and, you know, it comes with all this prestige. But if you wake up and you hate your 9 to 5, like what are you doing with your life? Like that's, again, I feel like some people can do that and they can then enjoy their, 5 to 9 and they enjoy their weekends. But me personally, I'm a very like impact driven person. And so when she said that to me, I was like, whoa, like this is the mentality of the people in this place. And I quickly realized that I hit a ceiling. I was very much like, I'm a self-starter. I work on things. I love to take initiative. And when you kind of go into the corporate world, you're kind of made to be this very small thing, you're
a cog.
Yeah, you're essentially like a cog in a machine. And I kind of refused to be that. And so as soon as I felt myself, hearing these types of things from people, and also just a lot of the graduates I entered with, it was very much like a shock. Because you kind of go into the corporate world and you're fed all these ideas of like, you're working in a Big Four consulting firm and you have an amazing corporate job that people would dream of. And again, I'm very grateful. But again, there was this idea of a lot of us when we have conversations after the first month of like, oh, like this is it. Like this is this is the life.
It was kind of like you saw behind the curtain, and there was nothing there.
There was nothing there. It was very anticlimactic, and again, I always look up to the people who are ahead of me, and I looked up to the people there who are ahead of me, and I was like, I don't want their lives, and so what am I really doing here? And so again, I was pushed and pulled around different projects, didn't really find myself in any of them, and then I'll say the opportunity to be laid off came about, and and a year in, they announced that they were doing layoffs, and so they were like, we're just gonna kind of like assess your usability on the projects and how long you've been on projects for. And to my luck, I had not been on a project in my year and a half there, I had not been on a project for up to 6 months of a total time. So that's quite a high time. So they kind of did us on a list, you're a number on an Excel sheet, ranked us on a list. This is the threshold, you're below, your job has basically been compromised. And I remember going into the meeting with the HR lady, and she was like, do you need any support? Do you have any questions? Like, are you okay? I was like, thank you. And I just walked out. Wow. And she was so shocked. And she just kind of looked at the manager with her, and she was like, what is going on here? Like, why is this guy happy to leave his job? And I was like, I just feel like I'm free in a way. It just kind of feels like I was in a place where I was a cog in a machine. My work didn't mean anything. People were just working for the weekend, working to live in the weekend. And I was like, that's not the life I want. And so
I've got so many questions, man. And you've given such a great insight into like what it's really like to get a prestigious job. My first question is, if you don't mind sharing, people talk about Big Four consulting, and like I had somebody who left uni and went into an investment banking salary of around 50k. Big Four is quite prestigious. Like, you work all this time, you do a master's. What was your salary getting into it as a graduate? Like, is it lucrative and comfortable?
It's definitely not as lucrative as like banking and finance. I mean, I don't remember exactly how much I was making, because again, I was like an analyst, so I was the first level. And again, I feel like I don't even know if I'm legally allowed to say how much.
Okay, sorry. Okay, cool. That's fine. But like, let's say you work your way through a Big Four consulting firm. What's like a range for what you could have earned if you'd stayed there for many years?
Yeah, so I feel like the range is, because again, when you're an analyst, you probably make just kind of like a basic consulting salary, and then as it goes up, you kind of get more towards those like big finance level pay. When you're a partner, obviously you also make lots of money, and then you obviously get commission on kind of like the people you bring in or the projects you bring in. So I feel like it also very much is kind of like person dependent the more you go up, but I feel like they're quite standardized in consulting in terms of the salaries. Like, at this level you make this much for this many years, until you've done this much, then you can go up.
Okay, so it's almost like you got bands.
It's very much like bands.
As you hit the requirements or whatever, they move you in. Okay, that was my first thing. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, obviously you do your masters, you're you're doing all this like entrepreneurial stuff, and like you said, you're working with startups. When you go into the consulting world, like who are you surrounded by, and like, is it the people that you surrounded yourself with that helped you to realize, maybe this isn't for me? Because like you said, you knew from early, maybe this wasn't right for me. I'm just trying to understand how you came to that decision.
I mean, I think it was a combination of things. I think it was, one, very much innate, like it was inside of me. I kind of felt it. I'm meant for bigger things. But then two, it was very much just kind of like looking around at the people around me, at least in the workspace, and realizing these are not the types of people I necessarily 100% want to be around. My ambitions don't match their ambitions. And then also, again, by nature of kind of making content before, I connected with a lot of ambitious, ambitious people, creative people who kind of wanted to do lots with their lives. And I think just kind of like always having those people around me, again, my master's, entrepreneurship, very much like driven entrepreneurial people. So kind of always being around that, just kind of very much inspired me and just kind of made me realize that like, hey, this environment wasn't for me. But again, don't get me wrong, there was very much points in my time at the Big Four consulting firm where it was very much like, I'm comfortable, and I'm actually comfortable to the point where I was getting lazy, and it took that being laid off for that push. And that's why I told the HR lady, thank you, because I felt like it was almost like I didn't have the power in a way. I was getting decent salary. I wasn't doing that much work, It was good. I was trying to figuring out my life. And it was comfortable. I was comfortable, but that made me lazy.
Yeah.
And I kind of fell away from
a lot of people, they call it golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
Because, like, you're kind of earning a good living, you get good perks, but because it doesn't take all of your time and energy, but it takes enough time and enough energy for you not to give your full commitment and focus to the thing that could actually take you. And but yeah, so okay, so you get laid off. What does Ali do next?
Yeah, so I get laid off. Ali then goes and decides to apply for more jobs. But obviously now I obviously graduated at a horrible time because COVID and that kind of like post-COVID where people are getting laid off. But then by the time I got laid off, it was even more so. Like I was starting to hear about a lot of my friends and these other prestigious firms and everyone is getting laid off, and I'm applying for all these jobs and I'm not hearing anything. At that point, I kind of started to think about potentially moving to the Middle East, not back to Lebanon because Lebanon is very unstable, but maybe somewhere like Dubai or Saudi Arabia. I even got a job offer in a consulting firm in Saudi Arabia. And then just kind of before I took it, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do this to myself. Because I know that if I go back into an industry that
Same thing's going to happen.
Same thing is going to happen. Yes, maybe the pay will be better in the Middle East, but I'm going to get comfortable and I'm just going to kind of maybe, be 40 and just kind of look back on my life and realize that I never did the things I wanted to do. And I'm always a believer in the fact that like your 20s are the time to just explore, do as much as you want, try and fail. Because again, you don't have that big of a responsibility on your back. You have your youth behind you. You have the energy. Like you're supposed to be working from 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. just trying different things. Like it's the time where you're supposed to kind of do that. Didn't take the consulting offer. And then I was like, you know what? Thought back to the content and that whole content creation thing. And I was like, I have a skill. Why not try and monetize the skill? And so I started making content on TikTok again, but this time about marketing and these types of things. And first month was a failure. Like because I had never done educational content. So it was very much like, how do I show up online as an educator? And very much, I'm not like a salesperson. Like I hate asking people for money. I hate selling things to people. Like it's very much not in my nature. Like that conversation for me, even though it's very important and I've learned the importance of it, at the beginning, it felt very icky.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to show up as that person online.
How did you overcome that?
I think it's just trial and repetition.
Reps, yeah.
Like it's just kind of like you just get the reps in.
Yeah.
And so got the reps in. After a month, I felt much more comfortable making that type of content. And then I just kind of looked at what everyone kind of was doing in this space, and I was like, I don't want my content to look like them. And so that's when I started to kind of make content, kind of giving creative ideas for brands, very much kind of going down the very creative route. I would kind of start doing like brand analysis and giving so much value for free, and the videos just kind of started to snowball because I was giving so much value. And then people just started to reach out, and then it was just from there, like, hey, can I work with you? Do you offer kind of like social media marketing services? And yeah, it's been actually exactly a year, I would say, since I first started doing this. And thankfully, it's been amazing. I'm much happier than I was in my corporate job. And I think the best thing about it is that I've kind of been able to essentially just kind of, in a way, be my own boss, but also just kind of experiment and do the things I love to do, and really just kind of go out there and prove to myself that this wasn't just like a thought or a dream of mine. Like I can actually do it. And yeah, just learn so much from that experience.
I'm about to get the consultation's about to start. My first question is what are you using to edit your videos and do this analysis with? Like, is it just CapCut? Are you using like Adobe Premiere? And how is it you put like your imprint on your videos and make them like yours? Yeah,
so any video I post on TikTok, like 80% of the time is most probably edited on the TikTok app.
Wow.
Yeah, like I do just very basic things. Because again, for me, especially at the beginning of my journey, I very much wanted to focus on my ability to tell stories, and I didn't want edits or anything else to get in the way. And I was like, if I can command the attention of an audience just by speaking, then that I've mastered content creation. And so I didn't want to kind of muddle it up with edits and fancy things. Again, because my content is very much like spoken based. And so
are you using a script?
So my problem with scripts is that a lot of times you end up kind of sounding a bit unnatural.
Yeah.
You know, and it sounds a bit forced, and that's the last thing you want, especially when you're building like a personal brand. It's meant to feel like it's you. And I think the biggest, at least for me, and one of my friends also used to make fun of me for this. He was like, especially at the beginning, he's like, you sound different. You have like he would call it an influencer voice on social media, and I'm like, I kind of get it, you know, like I kind of get it because I was in a way reading off a script. I had a script beside me and I was reading, and that's when I was like, this can't continue.
Let me tell you something, bro. You have an influencer voice. I call my voice Dumb and Dumber. Because whenever I listen to myself back, if I try and do like some direct-to-camera stuff, I don't even have a script, but I have an idea in my head of what I'm saying. I'm like, and like whenever I hear myself back, I'm like, I just speed this up like by 3 times or something?
Man.
Like, because I just don't know, like, I suppose where I'm going with this is, like, how is it you make yourself sound authentic, even if you've got an idea of what you want to talk about? Because even me, I need to take this advice.
I mean, I feel like 1, obviously, the boring answer is repetition. But 2, it's very much, I think, if you are speaking about something you're passionate about and you genuinely care about and you're genuinely involved in the story in a personal sense, the words will just flow.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I'm sure if I told you right now, like, tell me about your upbringing or this or that, the words will just flow because you don't necessarily need to think about it. And so I feel like a lot of times people struggle with making content that feels natural because what they're talking about isn't natural to them. You know, it's just it's just very much like a thing of like they're pretending to be someone else online, or they're not necessarily an expert in the thing they're claiming to be an expert, and so the words don't flow like that. And so it very much is a thing that's difficult for them to
You're
do.
hitting me deep. I feel like you're talking about me. But the thing is, what I will say is sometimes I do try and like talk on things where I don't know if I'm an expert, but I feel like I do know about them. But I just feel like I'm not good at storytelling maybe. But like you said, it just comes with reps. And I think I don't watch enough.
You need to, like, if you want to be a creator, you need to also be a consumer. Like, I know people say like, don't consume, create, that type of stuff. I don't believe in that. I think you need to consume as much as you create, because the consumption and what's going on and how people are positioning their content, the types of hooks that people are using, types of conversations that are relevant in the culture and on people's algorithms, those are the things that inform your content. And those things also change like every month, you know, and these algorithms are being updated every month. And so you need to have a pulse on what people are doing out there, because that can help inform your success.
And then another thing which I think, like just talking about like creating natural looking content, for me, like, I don't know, you have like a stand or a tripod, you're looking into the camera, like are you holding your phone? Are you looking into like a phone which is stationary? Once again, how is it you get the most natural aesthetic, I suppose, based on phone placement or whatever? I mean,
I think the best way to make content is create from a place of like almost documentation, I would say. So like you should build the habit of like having your phone recording wherever you go and whatever you're doing, you know, because like and I think one really good tip is, you know, those phone covers where you can stick them on a wall or you can stick them on a piece of glass. Like, you should get one of those, because that can also allow you to just stick your phone wherever you want, and you can just kind of film content wherever you go. But again, if you're creating content that is personal and you're documenting a journey that you're going through or a story that you're telling or something that you're trying to accomplish, there's essentially a story. And again, it always goes back to storytelling. It's going to feel much easier for content to be natural, because again, if I'm, I don't know, documenting my journey going from, I don't know, 0 to 10,000 pounds a month, like there are things that are happening on a daily basis, actions that I'm taking. And if I simply document those actions wherever they are, whether they're on my bed at home, on my laptop, or on a meeting I'm going to take with a potential client, it's like I can take the viewer with me on those places. And so then capturing the content feels much more natural.
Do you know what you've just said there, which I think is like a massive unlock? It's when I'm recording content, I feel the need to look like into the camera and have myself on the screen. I could just talk naturally into it and have it overlaid with me just going about my day. And I think that would help so much with me like feeling comfortable and being able to just be myself, because I actually feel most unnatural when I'm talking.
I mean,
like,
it's scary.
I'm just like, who, what, where, when?
Because you start to think like, do I look good? Like you just kind of start to think, and again, especially if you see your own reflection, and it's very complex. But again, one thing that I feel like a lot of people don't do, because I feel like a lot of people, online content creators, people who make content as a business, they shit on influencers. But I think actually some of the best people that you can watch to learn how to make good content is influencers. Because you can see, because they do this stuff for a living, like completely for a living. And they've also mastered almost like the hardest form of content, which is like emotional, relatable type content. And you notice when you watch a lot of these influencers is that if they're doing a vlog, for example, never ever, very rare will they talk about what's happening in the video. The video is simply there to just inform and add and maybe even distract the viewer, but what they're saying is different than what's happening on camera. And that's the best way to kind of like tell a story, hook people in, because it's like now there's two things that are happening at the same time. And again, the viewer is much more engaged. And so when you do that, again, that's like another big hack.
I'll give it a bit. But yeah, going back to like actually like giving tangible advice to the listener. So to anybody who's listening to this and like, you know, maybe they've been laid off, maybe they're graduating from uni, like, or they just generally want to get into content creation, what would your like immediate action, what is an immediate action they should take, and what advice would you give?
So I'd say if you want to get into content creation, you want to make money out of it, you want to build a business out of it, whatever it is, you need to be making content 2-3 times a day, like 2-3 times a day, only because, not because this is the amount that's going to make you successful, but because this is the amount that's going to essentially speed you on your learning curve, you know, because the more you make content, you need to treat every single piece of content as a data point. The more content you make, the more data you have. The more data you have, the more you can inform your learnings. And from that, you can make better content. And so the point of making more content isn't necessarily because it's going to make you grow faster, but because the learnings from those pieces of content are going to help you grow.
If you post 3 times a day, do you space out the post? So let's say you do one at 9 a.m, one at 12 p.m, one at 6 p.m, or you banging out like 6 p.m, 6:15 p.m, 7 p.m. Like, what does it matter?
I don't think it matters that much.
If it's gonna bang, it's gonna bang.
Like I don't think. Again, I always, because you know, so many people. There are so many social media experts online, and they will give so much advice about, this is the best time to post and this is what you need to be doing, and if you don't do this, your video isn't going to go viral. And again, it's not about that, because think of it, it's not an Instagram or TikTok's best interest to suppress a video that's going to keep people on the app. The point of these apps is to keep people, to raise the screen time as much as possible. And so if you're but you know, if your video has the recipe for that, whether you post it at like 10 p.m. or you post it at 8 a.m, it's in the app's best interest to push it out.
That's so true. Because I've had videos where I've posted and it was like 2 or 3 days later, it just starts to go. I've had videos where immediately it just went. It really can happen. If it's going to bang, it will bang. The only one I potentially is if I'm in another country, maybe my location sometimes.
No, actually, that is the thing, especially with TikTok.
Because I was just in Mauritius and they shanked, man. I was releasing good videos. Some of my best videos getting no love. TikTok, man. Not that I want to make excuses.
But okay, so you said the first immediate action is post 2 to 3.
Post as much as you can, maybe. It doesn't have to be, post as much as you can. Again, 2 to 3 is a lot for a lot of people. But again, when you hear the success stories of some of the biggest influencers, creators, businesses, you look at their profiles, they're posting that much. But even once a day is good. I'd say less than that. I mean, you can grow with any amount of videos. And again, this is not to give people a rule, but it's just more like the more you do, the more you learn, the more you grow.
100%. And then you also talked about, like, you gave away a lot of value for free. Like, to anybody who's thinking to do something similar, like, just take me behind your like thought process for how it is you strategized about, okay, I'm going to give away this value, and how is it you came to the decisions you made for the content you created? So again, content creation is about trust. It's about building trust with an audience to the extent that they're willing to kind of stay on and watch what you want to say. And not only that, but follow you and come along for a journey or future value. And so, again, it's very much about just kind of making sure, like the whole point of giving free value is to win that trust over, you know, because the more you show people like, hey, like, I mean, if you're doing it for a business, you're showing them, hey, this is how much I can give you for free, and they can go away and implement that. Then in their head, it's going to be like, oh, well, if this guy has a paid service, for example, imagine how much value I can get if I pay them, you know? And so again, it also increases your
your authority level, because again, very much people will listen and engage with people they trust, you know, whether it's because of they share a relatable circumstance, or they have a career that they aspire to have, or whatever it is. And so giving away free value is just another way of kind of building that level of authority.
And I suppose, like, obviously you're quite young. Sometimes people have imposter syndrome. Like, they feel like they need to have had years in the game before they can give away that value to people who have like why is it you felt like you could just command that authority? Like, was it your degree that helped you with that? Was it the masters? Where is it you got that?
I think I think one, it was because I kind of had that previous experience with TikTok, but then I think two, it's like, at the end of the day, you can't really force someone to listen to you, to buy from you, and the proof is going to have to be in the pudding. You know, like, you can also kind of be, especially with social media, like, because I started a fresh account, like my account with the conspiracy theories and everything, that had to go when I entered the corporate world.
Why did it have to go?
Because I didn't necessarily want my brand, and when potential employers or clients looked me up, to see that I was associated with conspiracy theories.
But you could have changed the name and deleted and archived all the videos, no?
Yeah, but then you have 90,000 people who followed you for conspiracy theory content, and I'm not supplying that anymore, and then it's gonna look weird. You know, when I'm getting X amount of views because the audience and the topics of the videos don't match. And I was also just kind of like, a fresh start is always good. I love a good challenge. Why not try and like bootstrap an account from zero? You know, and so so it's just kind of like. Being able to do that, I think, is very much something that allowed me to kind of command that authority. And
I love it. And something, you know, you've mentioned it earlier. I've had other people talk about it. The importance of a good hook. How, like, talk to me about like your process for writing a good hook, or what is it in, you know, when you're looking at content across social media, what are the things that really leap out to you as like a great hook?
So I think definitely the most important factor of a good hook is curiosity, you know, and I've mentioned this already, but it's, can I say something that is going to make someone want to stay and find out the answer, you know? So don't give away the answer. Or what you can do is front loading. So a lot of people would do this, where your verbal hook, for example, is different than the headline that you have on the video. And so, for example, I can start a video by saying, even just by directly going into a story, when I used to work at a big four consulting firm, X, Y, and Z happened to me. But then the text on the video will actually be the lesson that I'm giving in the video. And so people from the beginning know what to expect. And the curiosity part is, how is he going to make his point, you know? And so you just kind of need to figure out how to play around with it. But you can use the text, you can use the verbal hook, you can do so many different things. But definitely creating curiosity, most important thing. I'd say also just context and clarity. Like, a lot of people make the mistake of like assuming that people know what they're going to be talking about in the video. And so if you're not making that clear from the beginning, again, think of it from the viewer's point of view. I'm scrolling on my For You page. I see this video. This person's asking me to watch them for a minute, but I'm not even sure what they're going to be talking about. So I haven't even given them the information for them to decide in that 3 seconds that they decide whether this video is worth their time or not. And so again, making sure that it's clear from the beginning of the video what you're going to be talking about, so the viewer can actually watch. It's super important, but so many people miss it. And then I'd say another thing is, like, don't forget that like people don't necessarily care unless you give them a reason to, you know. And it's just like, so many people, and I see this with even just friends who say like, oh, they want to get into content, and they start making content, and for example, they make a vlog about their day in the life, but it's like, why would a stranger care? Like, what reason are you giving them to care? And so again, you need to kind of integrate, whether it's a story, a pain point, something that can make people relate, to kind of create that common ground. Because again, it's all about creating trust. And if that viewer can establish that level of trust in the first few seconds, or something that is going to make them want to continue, not because they care about you, but because they care about what you're talking about, they're not going to watch. And so you kind of really need to consider all of these things, or a mix of these things, which is why people don't make it on social media, because it's so hard, you know?
And just on that as well, like, when you speak about like providing the context, because I know about like the captions to give that context, does it matter about caption placement? And the reason I say that is because, selfishly, thinking about this podcast, there's a close-up of my face. In my head, I'm like, I don't want to put a caption in this frame because I don't want a massive caption on my forehead or like over my mouth, because people won't see my mouth talking. Like, does placement of these things matter as well?
I mean, I'm gonna give you, like, literally today I was just kind of watching some videos, kind of doing my regular analysis that I do, and I saw a video in which like all the text was on this girl's forehead, and like the video had like 1 million views, you know? Or like there was a video where like the captions were like so at the bottom of the screen that people probably wouldn't even be able to see them. So again, these things are like very minor. If you have something good to say, more often than not, people are gonna listen.
So long story short, don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Don't
Just have
overthink
it there.
Just have it there wherever you think is good. If you want to have it, you can have it. There are videos that have 1 million views with captions. There are videos that have 1 million views without captions.
Yeah,
you know,
it just needs to be good.
This
is so painful because I guess the scoreboard on whether the video is good does it have the views, and if it doesn't have the views, then what you think is good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say it, bro. It's not looking good. Yeah.
Again, one other thing that I feel like I didn't mention but is really important is watch time. Like, you also need to think about the flow of your video, because the way these algorithms work is the higher percentage of people that watch the video for a longer period of time or watch it to the end it means TikTok or Instagram is going to push it out more. And so you always need to think about, how can I create that narrative in my video that's going to keep people hooked for longer and longer.
And just on that, like, you mentioned TikTok and Instagram there. Like, what are some of the like strategies you deploy for optimizing across platforms, and how do they differ?
Yeah, so I think TikTok is very much, at least for me, TikTok is my baby. It's my favorite platform. For me, TikTok is like the only platform where like followers don't really matter. As in, you can have 0 followers and you can get 1 million views. Yeah, that is much harder on Instagram. Still possible, but in my opinion, much harder. And Instagram is very much a bit kind of dependent on your followers. And I personally don't like the Reels algorithm as much. But for TikTok is very much like I call it like a FaceTime content platform, where like the content that you're watching almost feels like you're on FaceTime with people. Yeah. It's very much raw, stripped back, no fancy edits. Again, this is not to say, because there's lots of content on TikTok that is edited, that is filmed with a professional camera that does well. Yeah. But the more raw and authentic it feels, the better. TikTok has much more of a bigger appetite for longer content, you know? So we've seen in the last few years, I don't know if you were on TikTok when there was that Risa Tisa woman who...
No, I've only been on TikTok about a year
okay, well, this was January last year, and she made like
March last year.
Yeah, she made like a 50-part series called Who the Fuck Did I Marry? And it was about her ex.
I think I did see that, even though I wasn't on it, bro. I think I did see that.
You know, and again, those were like, I think it was like 50 episodes. Each one was 10 minutes. And I personally see so much 2, 3, 4, 5 minute videos on TikTok. So TikTok has a much bigger appetite for longer content, something that's more raw, authentic, nothing fancy, which is why, again, for me, TikTok has the lowest barrier to entry and it's the easiest platform for you to build something on.
What about like overlays and stuff? Because coming back to this podcast, I'm always like, how do I make my... If you think the conversation is interesting, how do I keep them engaged? Sometimes we think overlays, captions, like you said, do they matter? Like, because if it's like a conversation, right, and you want to keep people hooked, nobody wants to just hear me. Even though you've been very engaging, I could listen to you talk all day. No diddy. Yeah, like, how is it you keep people engaged with kind of static content, I suppose?
Yeah, so I mean, again, overlays, captions, these types of things, they are additions, but they're not deal breakers. Yeah, you know, like a good piece of content that it relates to a topic that people actually want to listen to or people actually care about, people are going to watch to the end, you know, because people are getting something out of it.
Question, because bro, this guy is everywhere. Talking about topical, just with all of this like going viral, Ashton Hall. When I say his name, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Where the hell did this guy come from? And what is it? Like, he's taken the world by storm. Like, every time I look at I go on his Instagram, 1 million new followers every day. Like, bro, but the thing is, it's like, I don't know how long he's been posting for. He's been posting for a minute, and then all of a sudden, on Twitter is where I saw it, he's just exploded across every single platform. From your expert vantage point, what has happened, and why is it his videos are banging the way they're banging at this moment in time?
Yeah, so the thing with Ashton Hall, which is very much similar to, I'm going to call back to, you know, Adi Abu.
Yeah.
So very much similar use cases, because these are guys who've almost in a way come up with caricatures of themselves. you know, and they've almost like simplified themselves into these bite-sized pieces of content. They get people talking. You know, and I think crazy. And so when you do that, that's an insane way of capturing attention, because what he's doing is he's creating conversation. The ridiculousness of it, all of it, is creating conversation.
And people, like, because there's a lot of idiots on the internet, people can't distinguish what is a caricature versus like what is actually him.
100%.
And I think that's a skill in itself, because some of it is so obviously, but like when he does the banana on his face, I don't know if I should be doing it. I'll be honest, his face looked clean.
But
Maybe
that's the
I
thing.
should be doing it.
He got you talking, and the whole point of social media is to get people talking. And so when people do stuff like that, masters of capturing attention.
And then I think what he did so well is, because you know you get the haters, and like people are coming at him in the comments, he just fucking doubled down. So like I think there's one in the viral one, he's like, you know, we gotta go get 10,000. And everybody's like 10,000 what? And then in every video after, it was like, oh, we gotta get 10,000. Oh, now we gotta get 10 million. Like it's like he's just repurposed the same thing, but
catchphrases are an insane hack. Like you see it with a lot of like influencers, people who go again. Eddie Abu, he had that whole thing with the supermarkets. And repetition and these types of things that get stuck in people's heads is a amazing hack for kind of like going viral. And again, he combined it with the whole caricature thing, so it just blew up.
And now he's even done one with Mr. Beast. He's like, I checked it again today. He's at 11 million on Instagram. He had 1 billion views in 30 days. Do you know how insane that is? That is out crazy. Of nowhere. But what I would say about his is, you say like low barrier to entry. The production on his is crazy. Yeah. Like he's using good cameras, expensive apartment. Yeah. So it goes back to what you're saying of you can have it both ways.
Yeah,
right? You can do it like low, you can do it high production. Both have their merits, right?
Yeah. It's all about like these types of things, the edit, the high production. These are things that are additions, but they're not deal breakers. Yeah. You know, yes, they can elevate your content. If you're kind of like at that point, because you know when you have like an exponential curve and you're kind of like at that point where it's still low and you're just about to go up. Yes, maybe an overlay or a really good edit can push you up that curve. Yeah. But again, you need to be on that curve in the first place. What you're saying, the content, the actual topic needs to be good. If it's not, no edit, no overlay in the world is going to save you. Yeah. You know?
And like just on that, like maybe like getting the extra 1% and stuff. Like where does SEO come into all of this stuff? Because even if I take like my YouTube as an example, like I spend so much time doing like chapter markers, this, that, and the other. Bruv, do I really know if the fucking chapter markers are working or not? I don't know, bruv. Like, so is SEO important? And like, what's your approach to using it?
Yeah, so the way I use SEO, I really consider it like, especially for the short form content, because again, you have to think about it when you're uploading a piece of content. You need to be able to almost in a way give the algorithm as much information as possible so that it understands who this piece of content is for, or I mean, what is it about, so that it can then show it to exactly the people it's for. Yeah. And so SEO is a great way for them to kind of like detect, you know, what this topic is about. Now, again, these things, I mean, they don't really reveal how they work, but people are saying that like the algorithms and TikTok and Instagram have become very good at just picking up what you're saying just from the video itself. Yeah. And so SEO and hashtags and these things are becoming less and less important. I think hashtags.
So what contributes to SEO in your opinion?
Like as in the keywords. So the keywords that the main topics of the things that you're talking about.
So is that from, I know you're saying from words and hashtags, but is it other things as well, like the title, like if you put a caption on the page, like does that all contribute to SEO?
Yeah, so again, I mean, I think hashtags are a bit redundant. Like,
do you?
Yeah, I don't think they do anything. I mean,
I swear.
I'm pretty sure, I mean, don't call me on this, but I even feel like that, what's his name? The Instagram Mosseri, I don't know. He's like that guy who works in Instagram and he gives advice to like creators and stuff. I'm pretty sure maybe he said or someone said that like hashtags are quite redundant on Instagram and they don't really do anything anymore.
So on Instagram, I agree with that. But what I've seen, in my opinion, on TikTok is if I do 3 or 4 clear hashtags, it picks it up in the search and then it helps the videos go. But if you do like 10, it's just like find a related search topic. Yeah. Like if you do too many, they're just like, nah, I'll ban you. Yeah. If you do 2, 3, like quite specific ones, it seems to work, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree.
But so I think hashtags are like super powerful on TikTok.
I agree.
But I don't know if there's anything else I'm missing that could help to, supercharge. But most of my videos get over 1,000 views, and I don't have 1,000 subscribers yet, but it's coming. Make sure to follow me on TikTok if you've gotten to this point in the conversation, because we're giving you the fucking juice. Honestly. So I just swore, sorry, mama. But yeah, so hashtagging, you say, is the main thing for SEO.
Yeah, I'd say for TikTok, Instagram, I think hashtags are a bit redundant at this point. I think just making sure that the keywords, the things you're saying, are in the caption, because again, these platforms are also evolving to become very much like search first in a way. Like, at least for me, for example, if I want to go somewhere, I want to go out in, I don't know, let's say I want to find a restaurant to eat in Soho.
Yeah.
I will look it up on TikTok.
Really?
Yeah, and that's how a lot of people, especially in Gen Z, use like TikTok, for example. And so when you have those like keywords in your caption, on the video, in the hashtags, it just helps TikTok make your video appear in that search page when people look things up. And again, that relates to more views. TikTok can classify your content, your page much better. So it's like a win-win,
Yeah. And before we get on to like brand side and, actually like working with clients, is there anything else we've missed for like the actual creator? Any other bits of advice and takeaways they should take action on today?
Ooh, I'd say, I feel like we've touched on all the main things. I'd say, I don't know, maybe like as a summary, most important things if you're looking to grow your social media: curiosity, how can I make people curious? Context, how can I give people context about what I'm talking about instead of assuming that they care? And then 3, how can I basically create conversation? Because the more conversation you create, whether people agree or disagree, that's just going to supercharge your growth. It's going to make people more likely to share your videos, keeps people on the app, and TikTok and Instagram love that. So I'd say that's probably the main things. And I feel like this is the type of information that people put in like $1,000 courses, but it's for free for everyone because everyone should win.
Do you know what? You don't need to take $1,000 course, but you do need to hit the subscribe. So if you haven't, hit the subscribe, guys. Get us to 1,000. Let's get there, because I'm sick and tired of being under it. Let's go. But no, so yeah, that's it from a content standpoint. You mentioned that you were giving away the free value earlier in the conversation, and that led to like brands and people reaching out and like procuring your services. You've been doing it for a year, and I know, speaking to you off camera, it's been a very busy year. You got a lot of clients, a lot of expectations. How is it you went about, so they reach out to you, offer services, how is it you go about actually like securing that bag, the contract?
Yeah, so the good thing about making content as a way to attract clients is that a lot of them show up pre-sold. So I don't need to do any convincing or selling, because most of the times they're reaching out to me because they have a pain. They have something they want to do related to social media. And so most of the times the conversation directly goes to like, when can you start? What do you do? How much is your fee? That type of stuff, And
what is the kind of work you're doing for brands typically?
Yeah, so mainly I would say it's a mix of different things. I'm mainly kind of running this as like a one-person thing. So it's mainly me. I do work with other freelancers, editors when needed. But it's very much like a thing of like I will maybe do some consulting, give them ideas. Like it kind of depends on what they want. But I definitely also work on the fulfillment side. And there's a few people I work with on the fulfillment side. So I will essentially kind of help them essentially take in what their brand is about, what type of content they want to make, ideate a strategy, and then kind of help bring, essentially project manage everything from the vision and the idea to the filming to the edit to then posting, analytics after, all that type of stuff.
And like when clients are procuring your services, as like, I introduced you as a social media expert, so it's probably like around social media marketing. The projects that you're procured on, is it typically like the success metric is the number of views on like a post, or is it like we want to grow our audience by 50,000, 100,000? Like what are the metrics for success on the projects you typically work on?
Yeah, so it kind of varies. A lot of times I like to steer away from like promising specific metrics or specific things, just because a lot of times these things aren't under your control. And especially if you work in marketing, you work as an agency freelancer inside an agency, you realize that a lot of times it's not just dependent on the social media. Like you can't outmarket, for example, a bad product.
Yeah.
And it's
But would you work with a bad product?
The thing is now, no, but sometimes you just also can't tell.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like I've had situations where the product's been good, so much potential, but I've ended, for example, the relationship with the client because I couldn't work with the client properly, you know. And sometimes like there can be so many things that can come into play, and a lot of times, especially when you work with business owners, they're very much like, my brand is my baby, you know, and they hire you to kind of do certain things for them, but they also want to be involved. And so then your voice kind of gets muddled out, and then the whole creative process becomes a bit frustrating because the thing they hired you for, you're no longer really fully doing because they want to be involved.
And on that, because I'm sure there are going to be other like people who have their own agency or work for an agency who face like challenges. Yeah, can you share more on what some of those challenges are and how it is you overcome them?
Yeah, so I think the hardest thing is definitely navigating expectations with clients, because a lot of times people come and they want to work with you and they have the expectation that you can take them from 0 to 1 million in like a week. And it's like, that's not how it happens. You know, a lot of times there are so many factors that come into play when it comes to marketing a product or even building a personal brand, you know, into, again, if the product is bad, if they don't have the branding on point. Because again, the problem with working in marketing is you work as a social media marketer, for example, people will also kind of expect branding work within this. But again, I'm not a branding expert. I'm a social media expert. Yeah. When I come to work with you, I expect that your brand doesn't have to be established, but it more or less, you have
it's clear.
It's clear. There needs to be an identity. But a lot of times, especially at the beginning, when I just kind of used to accept whatever work, just because I was just kind of starting out, I would work with very much like businesses and business owners who are very much at the beginning stage. And again, the problem is that it's not clear. They have no brand identity, no brand values. All these things aren't clear, and their product is even in development. And so it becomes very hard to make content in those types of situations, because it's like, I don't even have the building blocks into making content. And one other thing that a lot of brands struggle with is like, who is actually going to be in the content, because so many brands want to make content, but maybe the founder doesn't want to be on camera, or they don't have people who want to be on camera. And so then it becomes, okay, so what type of content do I make, you know? And again, sometimes you just kind of like, there's nothing you can do, you know. Like sometimes it's genuinely like, if the brand doesn't have the budget to hire people to be on camera, or if they don't have people in the office who want to be on camera, they don't want to be on camera, you become very limited.
So why did they hire you in the first place?
That's the thing.
So I suppose like on that, like to anybody who is you know, looking to find the right ideal client, what are some of the qualification steps you can take to make sure you've got a brand with a clear vision and you're not going to fall into these traps?
Yeah, so I'd say definitely having some sort of screening with the client. So whether it's you hop on a call and you kind of take in information.
It's like a brief.
Yeah, like a brief. It's just kind of like, who are you? Because again, it's also very much about the people you're working with, because you're going to be, if you're essentially doing the marketing for a business or a brand, 99% of the time you're going to be working very closely with the founder or the CEO or the CMO if they're that big of a business.
Yeah.
And so very much just kind of understanding where the brand is at, what they do, what their resources are, what their expectations are. One thing I learned is to also kind of give yourself some leeway at the beginning, because a lot of clients, especially the ones who haven't really dealt with social media, because again, social media is relatively new for a lot of businesses that just starting to hire experts and agencies and stuff, is explaining to them that you can't start making content on the first day. Yeah. You know, like I now kind of explain that like it's going to take 2, 3, even sometimes a month for us to get to that phase where we're making content, especially if you're not like, you don't work in-house for them. They're simply hiring you for your services, because you need to understand the brand, what's been done before. You need to deep dive into their analytics, understand all the branding work that's been done, understand who the audience is, monitor the comments, understand like what, like essentially understand the whole recipe. And then you need to come up with content ideas. Yeah. And then you need to validate them with the CMO, the CEO, whatever it is.
And when you like explain that to a business owner, how do they respond to that? Like, are they happy to pay you for that time to understand so you can speak authentically in their voice? Or like, is that something that meets resistance in your experience?
I mean, sometimes it meets resistance. Brand owners do understand. The ones that want to start directly, usually that's a red flag for me, and that's the type of person.
When you say they want to start directly, what do you mean?
As in
record now.
Yeah, so because I've had clients that are very controlling and they want to push back and they just kind of want things done in their way, at their own time, in the like, essentially super controlling clients. And at the beginning, I didn't used to be able to spot those types of people, but now I feel like I have a detector.
Yeah.
And as soon as I detect that I am going to be speaking to someone like that, or I'm speaking to someone like that, I probably will not work with them.
Okay.
You know?
I got two questions on that. One, if you, in the past when you've dealt with these people, how is it you've overcome these challenging people who demand? Because I know that there are going to be a lot of people listening to this who have been in a similar situation.
It's very tough.
Okay.
It's very tough. I have
just go home and cry. You know the meme of the guy who's crying behind the mask. It's like you cry but you smile.
Man, especially when you're at the beginning of doing these types of things, it's very much like a thing of like you don't have strong of a voice.
Yeah.
And you also don't have options. And at the beginning, obviously, I didn't used to be able to say no because I want this. And I want to grow my portfolio and I want to make money and all these types of things. But I can tell you, there were very much situations where I'm being told one thing and I'm being pushed, and clients can be very rude a lot of times. And this is, again, one thing I really don't like when you work in a service-based business, is that people think that just because they pay you, they are entitled to every single piece of your time, every single hour of your day. They're entitled to speak to you in a rude way. I've even had clients tell me that, oh, I have a guy working for me in India at 2 a.m. It's 9 p.m. in the UK. Why aren't you doing your work? Like, I've ended relationships off of, people telling me stuff like that.
Yeah.
I even had a client. There was a war in Lebanon, like recently. I mean, kind of still ongoing, but my family had come from Lebanon to visit, and I had a client call me in the middle of, my family had just arrived. I had said that I was taking a week off from client work because of the situation and everything. Client was completely understanding, and then I get a call in the middle of dinner from the client, and I close and I say, hey, I'm at dinner with my family. And then the client is just kind of like, okay, call me later. And then the client calls me and is like, when I call, you pick up. And then the client was like, oh, like, I have someone working for me at this time. I'm paying you. Essentially, what was said or implied was, I'm paying you, you do the work. And I was like, I literally told you a week ago that I'm going off because my country is going through a war.
Yeah.
And so situations like that, dealing with clients, it can kind of really put a bitter taste in your mouth, because just because you pay me, this is an exchange of value. Like, you are getting my services, and that is, especially for me, that like, my services are worth 10 times what is being charged. And it's like, and then to say that you want to also control my time and like say these types of rude things, I just, at this point, I don't put up with those types of things.
I love it. And like, on that, in those situations where you have to break a relationship, I've heard so many people who are like freelancers or work for themselves, like payment and invoicing. Like, in your experience, how is it you make sure you actually get paid for the work that you do? Because I know a lot of people struggle with invoicing, especially when you're working for startups. Sometimes they don't pay on time. Do you have any strategies to make sure you get paid what you're owed?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you have to have a contract. There needs to be a contract, and the contract needs to say that invoices should be paid within 2 weeks or a month of whatever of billing the invoice, and the exact dates and all this type of stuff.
If not, there'll be penalty charges.
If not, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I've had only really one situation where it gets paid, where like the money wasn't paid or was super delayed, and I found out it wasn't being paid at the time, or at least, I mean, I didn't necessarily know. But again, the client wasn't communicating. Because again, when it comes to conversations about money, people can be very iffy and like run away. And if they don't necessarily have the money to pay you, I mean, I'm not a horrible person. If someone doesn't have the money, I'm not going to force them to pay me. At the end of the day, like, I can be gracious and I can be kind. But again, for me, it's a matter of like respect and communication. And like, when a client doesn't necessarily communicate, especially when you spend a lot of time with them, for me, I find that quite unprofessional and disrespectful. And so, quick CC in the email to a lawyer. Within a minute, you have a reply.
Okay. The CC with the lawyer.
Sometimes you just have to do that. And I hate ever getting to that point. But again, like, the level of professionalism when it comes to clients can really vary. And you have people who just kind of want to exploit your services, or sometimes they don't mean it, but they're so in their head with their businesses. And I fully get it. Like, you're a business owner, but so am I. And so, like, we need to treat each other with respect and that type of stuff. So
what is something you know now that you wish you knew when you were first getting started running your own business?
I would say not everyone is my client. Like, at the beginning, I used to think that everyone who needed my service was my potential client. But now I don't believe that, because I think there are like client archetypes and certain people who you gel and work with much better. Yeah. And that can produce an amazing result. Whereas another client who on paper seems like, oh, they're amazing and you could work with them, when it comes to actually bringing things to life, the work styles, the energy, the chemistry doesn't match. And so there's nothing you can do at that point, you know?
I agree with you 100%. And I've even seen parallels with this podcast. Like, I think, oh my God, everyone has a job. So I can interview like everyone. But what I've realised with every episode is there's like a certain frequency that I have to be on with people in order to riff and like create the engaging atmosphere and like relatability that I'm after. So yeah, there is an archetype, and not 100%. Everybody is, just because you see it, you have to like be focused.
100%. Like, you can have your ideal client, or you can have a regular client that kind of fits the audience of what you target, but they're not necessarily 100% who you would work with the best.
Yeah. Whilst we round out this section, like, it'll be remiss if we don't talk about Ali and Garan Goes to Cannes, because we've had Garan on actually, like previously, for those eagle-eyed people who have watched, and now we've got Ali. We've got like the dynamic duo. Like, from your perspective, talk to me about like how that adventure to Cannes Lion came about.
Yeah, so me and Garan's adventure to Cannes was very, very interesting. It was literally the most spontaneous thing I've ever done in my life. He came over because I had not even seen Garan in person probably for like maybe 2 or 3 years. I had met him at a networking event like ages ago, and we kind of kept in touch on Instagram, and we're friends obviously and everything. And so I hadn't seen him maybe in like 2-3 years. He knew that I was going into the whole social media marketing thing. He was like, oh, there are these people who I want to work with, and I know you're doing this thing. Maybe we can work on them together. Came over, we prepared a pitch and everything. And then we just kind of started talking about Cannes. And then he was like, oh, I'd love to go to Cannes Lions. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to go to the Cannes Festival. I was talking about the film festival. He was talking about like Lions. Yeah. And so for a good like 3 days, we were talking about wanting to go to Cannes, but we were talking about different things. And it wasn't until 3 days later I was like, wait, I think we're talking about different things. Yeah. And so and then we brought up the conversation again. We were like, we need to make this happen. This needs to happen. Like, can we get there? Is this crazy? Like, he told me applications have closed, or I forgot, maybe he sent in an application, never heard back, or it was past the deadline or something. I was like, you know what? This was when I was first doing the whole content thing. And I was like, I'm feeling risky. Why don't we just make content about this? Like, let's just make content, see what can happen. Like, what's the worst that can happen? They say no, or no one responds. At least we tried. Yeah. And Gran was a bit hesitant, resistant at the beginning, but eventually convinced him. We shot the first video, and then boom, it just kind of started getting traction. People were tagging them, and then Garan got excited, and then it was like, okay, we're gonna start doing this. And he's a LinkedIn guy, I'm a TikTok guy, so he was like, I told him, you deal with the LinkedIn stuff. You can reach out to the people on LinkedIn, because again, I know that's where the decision makers and stuff are. And so again, we both posted on LinkedIn, but he was really taking care of trying to build out those relationships. And we had complementary skill sets, put everything together, and then we kind of created that series. And then it was actually LinkedIn where we eventually got the okay. So they had said, yes, we've seen your content and everything. And it was these two people on LinkedIn who kind of really helped us get some passes. Wow. And it wasn't, by the way, it wasn't until maybe like 3 or 4 days before. Or maybe it was a week. I even forget. No, actually, we made a video a week before saying we don't know if we're going to get in. And then I think we got in. Garan knew. He called me. It was like a prank call. He's like, we didn't get it. I was like, it's fine, man. We'll just try again next year. Yeah. Then he's like, I'm joking. We did it.
Oh, sick.
And then that was a few days before. So we booked the flights, booked the accommodation, everything. Went, and amazing. Time of our lives.
And like that whole experience of, okay, technically the tickets are all sold out. There's no way we don't have no right to go this year. But you know what? I'm going to use content to engage my community, and like, biddy bam, biddy boom, you get the ticket. Like, how does that change your frame for like life and just being able to achieve stuff?
Because that's a trip, right? Like, I'm just listening to it. It's crazy. Like you said, it's the most riskiest thing you've done, or like the most thrilling thing, and it worked.
I think it just kind of shows you the power of delusion. Like, average person would have probably seen applications are closed, festival is happening. There's no way I'm gonna get in. Why even bother trying? But I think when there's a will, there's a way, and when you're delusional enough, you can genuinely achieve anything. Yeah. Like, again, for me, I even go back to this whole like social media marketing thing. Like, I was making content to get people to work with me. That in and of itself requires a certain level of delusion and riskiness, you know? And so I think the more I did those things, the more I was like, hey, like, it's actually not that difficult to get what you want in this life, as long as you're delusional and you're consistent and you're obsessive. Yeah. You know, those three things, if you have them, if whatever is meant for you, you will have it. You will find it.
And do you know what it is? Like, because I've actually said something similar in the past. Yeah, it's like delusional positivity, because if you don't believe you can achieve something, you'll never achieve it. Like, everything starts with thinking that you can do. So even with this podcast, like, how is it I've gotten to 70 episodes? Is because I believe one day I will, challenge Stephen Bartlett, Joe Rogan, Chris Williamson. I believe it. I'm delusional. People will be looking at me like, you bum ass, man. Like, guess what? Delusional. It all starts with believing, and like belief along with like a clear vision and like goal of what it is you want to achieve. That's like that. They're like the key ingredients, and then you just got to execute.
100%.
You got to go and execute. Yeah.
100%. I think I read this somewhere, like reality expands to fill the limits of your mind. And I really do believe that, because it's just kind of like, if I think something is possible, that means I've created a reality in which it's possible. And so the only thing stopping me from getting to that reality is action, consistent action, Whereas if I don't think of that, that reality doesn't exist. And so it's not possible,
Jeez. Oh my God. Ali, man, you've hit me with so many things today, man. I've got a lot to think about, but like, where is it you see yourself in the next 5 and 10 years?
Ooh, very interesting question. Because if you told me even just a year ago that I would be working in social media marketing, maybe a year and a half ago, that I'd be working in social media marketing, I would tell you, you're crazy. Like, no. So in 5-10 years, I would say, because I don't even know where this whole thing is going, and I feel like I'm working on so many exciting things. And again, for me, life is always about constantly evolving to find a better version of yourself that is happier and more fulfilled. And I would say I'm definitely fulfilled with what I'm doing more than when I was in consulting, but it's still not everything I want for myself, And so again, I've very much been doing that soul searching recently and trying to figure out, like, where does Ali go from here? What do I do? What conversations do I have? How do I take myself to the next step? And so I think in 5 to 10 years, I would hope that I'm in a place where I'm doing meaningful work, impactful work. I'm impacting the lives of people, but I'm also finding the joy in the everyday things that I do. And I think as long as I have that, then I think I would have achieved a lot of what I want to achieve at a young age.
I love it. Ali, we do have a quick fire round. Are you ready?
Yes.
Viral content or loyal audience growth?
Loyal audience growth.
Instagram or TikTok?
TikTok.
Unlimited creativity and no budget, or strict rules and high budget?
Unlimited creativity with no budget.
Okay. Educate your audience or entertain them?
Can I say both?
Yeah. I'll let you. Niche audience or broad demographic?
Niche audience is nice, yeah.
Okay. Prioritize visuals or audio?
Visuals.
Okay. Use AI tools or stick to traditional methods?
Stick to traditional.
Share your process openly or keep it private?
Share process openly.
I love it. And then finally, like, who would your dream dinner guest be?
So my dream dinner guest is probably this really famous Lebanese director. Her name is Nadine Labaki. She is someone who's made some amazing films in Lebanon. And I don't know if I mentioned this or if I told you this before, but I used to do acting back in school. So I took theater for like 2 years. No. And again, I love creativity, love acting, love storytelling. And she, for me, is like one of the modern voices to come out of like the Lebanese filmmaking scene. And just the way she tells stories, the way she highlights the human condition in suffering and happiness, in celebration and misery, everything just inspires me so much artistically. And so I would love to just kind of sit down for dinner with her and just kind of explore her creative process.
I love it. Ali, thank you once again. We do have a closing tradition on this podcast.
Yes.
Knowing everything you know now, with everything you've been through,
what advice would you give your younger self, and would you still be doing the same thing?
Okay. Ooh. If I had to give advice to my younger self, I would probably say to trust myself more. I feel like a lot of times, even though we know we have gifts in certain things and we know we have the ability to do certain things, we hold ourselves back because we don't have any tangible proof of these things. There's no, use case that I've proven it to myself. But I think if I wish I believed in myself more, because it took me being at the bottom of the bottom, being laid off and not knowing what I want to do with my life, to kind of get that courage to build and go do something risky. And so I wish I trusted myself more, because the Ali that is able to do this now is the same Ali that was there 2, 3, 4 years ago. I'm not a radically different person. Yes, I've gained some lessons, and I've increased my skill, but I'm at my root the same person. And so if I just had a bit more trust in myself, I think I would have been able to do this earlier. But again, everything on God's timing.
That's it. God's plan. I don't know. Ali, no, thank you so much. And where can people find you, bro?
Instagram, TikTok. My handle is Becoming Ali. I'd say more TikTok than Instagram, but again, I feel like Instagram is a great place for DMs if people want to reach out, have a conversation. Again, I'm more than happy to connect with like-minded people. If you want help with your social media, shoot me a message, and yeah,
comment bio so I can get my break. You know what I mean? So I can get me a little something. No, I'm joking. To the listener who's gotten to this point, thank you so much. I hope you've found this conversation as insightful as I have. You know what to do, guys. Make sure to like, make sure to share, make sure to comment, make sure to follow, subscribe if you haven't already at WMBFD Pod. And with that, guys, this has been another episode of What My Best Friend Does. If you didn't know, now you know. Now go outside and take some immediate action. Over and out.